Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of the MetsXMFanZone Live Podcast. I am your host, Anthony Gennaro, and we're here to give you guys all of your latest live streams, talks on Mets news, and more. But we also would like to thank all of our partners for today's live stream today. We would love to thank Tick Pick, Sports Network, and we also will love to thank you guys, the viewers that have loved our podcast. If you guys would like to see more of our live shows, we go live on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at the 10 o'clock hour to catch all of your latest inside scoops of all of your New York Mets coverage, live streams, and more. But also, you guys can check it out on all of your social media platforms. And you can listen to us on all radio platforms on Amazon Music, iHeartRadio. You could also listen to us on the Apple Podcast. And now that Facebook has finally got a Facebook podcast spot, we are now going to be on the Facebook podcast section also as well. So you guys can check out that really cool new feature on Facebook. You just go to the podcast section and you can listen to all of our shows. All of our shows will be for free to all of our viewers. So you guys can listen to our podcast shows throughout the week. And plus, we're always uploading. We're always giving some new content on a daily basis. So you guys can check that out on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and all of where you guys get your favorite content. All right, so we got a really good show here for you guys today. I know this is a weekend. We're live streaming on a weekend, but we got a couple days to go for opening day. Now, to that being said, we do live stream all Met games throughout the season. That's a real cool new feature that we have. You guys can check out our website by going to MetsXMFanZone.com. Gives you all of your Mets coverage and all of your Mets live streams. So we stream SNY and we also stream all of your Met games. So if you guys would like to get and check that out, you guys can do so by going to MetsXMFanZone.com, and our monthly plan is $19.99, and you guys can sign up today if you would like to check that out. Plus, we give you all of the benefits that MLB TV doesn't. So, which gives you the MLB TV gives you blockouts. We don't give you blockouts. MLB TV doesn't do prices. We do. So it's going to be really cool, and I think you guys are going to really enjoy the platform this year. We love thanking the New York Mets for this, because without their permission, this wouldn't have been done. So we'll love to thank the New York Mets for allowing us to do this on our platform. So you guys can check this out again by going to MetsXMFanZone.com for your latest live streams, news feeds, and much more. So we appreciate you guys for loving our content. So anyway, let's get into the show today. So again, we got a lot of coverage. So, talking about spring training, talking about who's starting opening day at home. So, and plus giving you guys an analysis of players to watch out for in the 23 season, which we kind of touched based on it yesterday, but we want to touch a little bit based on it today as well. So, if you listen to our show on our platforms, you will see one of our titles being a little bit different as of yesterday. So, because we did touch a little bit based on the spring training part. Yesterday, I gave you guys a little bit of my analysis of certain players, but today I'm going to get a little bit in depth with our players. So, Now on opening day, which the Mets, it's going to be the Mets versus the Marlins. Max Scherzer is going to be on the mound for the New York Mets. So this really goes to show on how he is the top guy of this team. He's the bulldog. He's the fighting force. He's the anti-DeGrom. Anything and everything that's great about this guy coming over to this organization has helped so much to Mets. And the Mets love this. And us fans, we love this. And it just brings a lot of character to the ball club with Max Scherzer. And going into the different changes that baseball has done in the last year or so, with the pitch clock, with the shift, with the new base pads. Now that the Mets upgraded their stadium to a big screen, you're starting to see a little bit more of the visual effects in the stadium this year. You're going to see a lot of different looks to see. And they even upgraded, added a couple new shops, added a couple new concession stands in the stadium. And I think that's really cool. Something that, the Mets have been long overdue. So, with the upgrades and with the old owner that just wasn't, there was no heart in the old owner. It just really puts, a dab to what Cohen is looking to build. And this is pretty cool because today, what's today? Today is Hat Day. So if you are in the city, if you are hanging out, and if you're going to these specific hot spots like the MLB headquarters, or if you're going, by the Met shop or anything like that, you guys could actually get prizes. I was in the city earlier today. It was actually pretty cool. I was able to get an interview with Mookie Wilson and try to, talk to him a little bit on, what the season looks like going in 23, what's his perspective on it. And I think it's really cool to see something like this. So I will definitely be uploading that video earlier today. So that way you guys could be able to see it. And also, throughout the whole entire day today, we're going to be posting up some highlights. Some Metcap highlights, which I think is pretty cool. It's something, new. It is being broadcast on all of our platforms. So don't forget to check that out. So anyway, let's get into our next segment, which is Top Hat. Now, Top Hat, I'm going to be putting out players that really stood out for the Mets in overall, which was number one, your captain in David Wright. David Wright had a phenomenal, had great years with the New York Mets. He was the captain of the New York Mets. A guy that, the Mets love. They always call him Captain America. He's now finally back into the organization in some sort of capacity. Kind of like of that oversight, but nobody's better to watch and see, and that was David Wright. Then we go into our second, which is Jose Reyes. Jose Reyes is like the new generation of Francisco Lindor. Lindor is a really good shortstop. He knows on how to get the plays when you need him to get the plays. When he can hit the ball. He's got power with the bat. He's got power with speed. What is there not to like about Francisco Lindor? He's able to show you on every aspect of what a player should be. And him getting over 100 RBIs, which was back in 2022, it was just, I would say, in my honest opinion, one of the best years of his Met career. I mean, yeah, granted, he had a great career with his other team, but with the New York Mets, he's starting to show on what he could really do. And going into the 22 season, he was able to just capitalize everything about being a Met. So that's what was awesome about Francisco Lindor, and I rank him number 3. Now number 4, I would definitely go with Brandon Nimmo. Now, and why do I say Brandon Nimmo? Brandon Nimmo is your leadoff hitter. What does a leadoff hitter mean in today's baseball? Meaning, you are the guy every player relies on. You're able to get on a tight situations. You're able to steal. You're able to run. You're able to move around the base paths. Not only that, able to get you extra base hits when you're able to see that. So there has been a lot of focus on having Brandon Nimmo being your top guy, and we all know on how of a humble guy he is, on how good he is as a player, and I would definitely rank him as my number 4. Now, going with my number 5, if I had to really pick with a guy, I would definitely say Mike Piazza. Mike Piazza, back in the early 90s, back in towards the 2000s, Mike Piazza was the franchise at that time. And everybody loved Mike. He was able to give you highlights like there's nobody's belief. 9/11, when he hit that home run in center field, kind of, went from a chilling moment to a happy moment. And Mike Piazza was able to give you tons of your feelings all in one spot. And he really picked up the team. And I really feel that Mike would be my number 5 player, just because on how great Mike Piazza was as a player. Hitting over 200 home runs, giving you well over 300 RBIs. And Mike had that presence about him that you just can't overtake. Mike was a really great Met, and I find, in my honest opinion, ranking him number 5 was that best. Honestly, what of an awesome player. But that's in position players. So now let's go with the top number 5 in pitching. Number 1 obviously would be Tom Seaver. Why would we say Tom Terrific? Because Tom really transcended Mets baseball. Kind of really put the Mets more so on the map. 1969 was a really good year for Tom, but then also Tom got traded elsewhere, which put a stink to the Mets and really stinked on Met fans. It was something that it was like, because they traded Tom Seaver for 2 guys that really never ended up panning out. So, but Tom had great years with the New York Mets. Scoreless innings, 12, 13. He was just honestly one of the greatest pitchers in Mets history. But then, who goes and actually becomes that number 2 guy? And I feel as that number 2 guy, I would more than likely go with John Franco. And why would I say John Franco? John Franco had great years with the Mets back in the 2000 era. He was a guy that, he was able to rely on, giving you over 15 wins, giving you over 200 strikeouts. He happened to be one of the best Met pitchers in baseball. And then following up on that, who would you put into that mix? Or maybe Ron Darling. I think Ron Darling could have been more of a good pitcher. And obviously everybody knows him because he's in the SNY booth. So he's definitely your number 3 guy. And who would I go with my number 4? My number 4, would it be Jesse Orosco? I would more than likely put Jesse Orosco into that mix because you had that 86 year. Remember, you got players, you would consider great, but who would you put as your top 5? Jesse Orosco would be your top 5. He had a great career with the Mets in 86. He was able to get us to the promised land and win us a World Series, able to do so. So he would be your number 4. Number 5, I would go with Jacob deGrom. Jacob deGrom had great seasons with the New York Mets due to prior injuries. Jacob deGrom was the elite pitcher in baseball. Not only that, but put repertoires in his map under 2-time Cy Young Award winner, which he was able to put that in his arsenal. He was able to give you great years. But the Mets decided to go elsewhere with Jacob deGrom and moved on. And then the Mets brought in a year prior to having, with Jacob deGrom having injuries and stuff like that, we were able to bring in the Bulldog, Max Scherzer. So he would be your number 5. He would be your 5 with Jacob deGrom, but he would be more of a asterisk because of the years that he had with the Nationals. So could I put him in at number 5, Max Scherzer? I would probably see on where his career ends up, on where he ends up doing in his final years. But, with that being said, he's had some great starts with the New York Mets. But I kind of want to split that in the middle, Jacob deGrom and Max Scherzer. But I think Max Scherzer would definitely have more good years with the Mets. So that's my 10. That's my top 10. So now let's go into spring training. Now spring training, the Mets did really look into a lot of players this year. I would say a lot of players to be, that stood out for me. And a lot of them were minor leaguers. So I would probably go, if I had to start out, who really shined in spring training. And I would say number 1 would be David Peterson. Why would I say David Peterson? Because David Peterson had some really good innings in spring. He was able to give you 13 batters. He struck out 13 out of his last 18 in the starts. He's able to give you scoreless innings. He only gave up 7 walks within 15 innings of work. Could he be the guy, or could Tyler McGill be the guy? It comes down to who deserves it the most. And I feel that David Peterson kind of deserves it more over McGill. I mean, we see McGill, but then we see David Peterson. And I think David Peterson would be in your 5th slot as opposed to Tyler McGill. So if I had to go with who had a good spring, David Peterson kind of shined and rose the occasion on this year's spring training. So definitely would go with David Peterson. Now, who can we go with in regards to hitting? Number 1, I would say Thomas Nido. Thomas Nido has a lot to prove going into spring training. The Mets did re-sign him to a deal. What does David Peterson? What does Thomas Nido have? He has good offense. He's able to give you a couple of home runs when you need it. He does bat .239. I mean, it's not overall great, but he's able to give you some innings worth. He did collect 3 home runs in spring so far, and he had 5 RBIs with a batting average of .382. So, I mean, he's able to give you, hits when you need it. I think he's going to start hitting a little bit better this year. And why I say that is because he's a pull hitter. Thomas Nido, and he'll hit right in the holes when you need that. So now that the ship is now finally gone, I think Thomas Nido is going to bring you runs when you need it. So could he be a guy that edged off of McCann when McCann was here? McCann was not of a good player. I just think that the Mets just had enough of McCann and they decided to release him. But with that being said, Thomas Nido is having a pretty decent spring by far. So, and me analyzing of what I've seen, not so bad so far. So he would probably be one of the top guys I kind of see overturned. Now, and going back to pitching, who's another guy that stand out for me in pitching? I would definitely say John Curtis. John Curtis was in the Baseball Classic. Obviously, we all knew about that. He came back from Tommy John surgery, which was pretty impressive. I think he had a really good outings with the Mets by far. He did throw 6.5 innings in spring. He struck out 11, and he only gave up 2 earned runs. So, with that being said, where do I grade him? I would grade him in between a B plus or a B. He did have some good outings. He was able to give you strikeouts when you needed it, so I would probably go with that B or B plus. He definitely impressed me this spring. But a guy that really impressed me the most in spring was Tim LeCastro. I mean, look at the numbers that you see out of this guy. He batted .310. Not only that, he batted .310. He had 11 RB. He has 11 RBIs. He has 10 runs so far in spring training. What is there not to love about this guy? I don't know exactly on where they're going to go with Tim LeCastro. If they're willing, if he's going to stay on this roster or not. I know we're talking with Met officials earlier this morning that they don't know exactly where they're going to go with Tim LeCastro just yet. I don't think he's going to go into that roster right just yet coming out of the gate. But he could be a nice addition to that roster. So if the Mets really wanted to go anywhere, me personally would stand out of that 40-man roster would be Tim LeCastro. I think he would be a better backup than Darren Ruff. Then I would go with, now let's talk about prospects. What have we seen so far in our prospects this year? Top was Brett Beatty. I think Brett Beatty had like that offset season. You know, last year he got that home run. That was something that he wanted to, as a rookie. I think he needs a little bit more season down in Port St. Lucie. Just because I don't think he is well established there at third base just yet. I mean, positivity all around Brett Beatty. I think he has a really good pop in his swing. I like the follow-throughs that he's able to, conduct and produce runs. He could produce those runs. It's just a matter of, is he willing to take the chance on getting the job done? And that's what's the most concerning for me. I want to see him produce runs when you need it. So, but in spring so far, he's batting at 330. He batting 333. He had 6 RBIs, 2 home runs. Very well impressed. I think if I had to go with a grading so far in spring training, I would say with a C plus or a B minus. Then we have a guy that's from single A, double A, to now finally in triple A. Ronnie Mauricio. I like Ronnie. I think with his speed and his bat, not only would the power that this guy has, He's giving you 4 home runs. He's able to battle through all of the players that have been played. I like what I see so far out of him. He's able to give you runs when you need it. A guy that I like, and I think a guy that everybody should like. He reminds me of Darryl Strawberry so much. I want to see him probably play outfield just because of how lengthy he is and how bulky he is. He's a guy that's probably going to go out there because we know that Francisco Lindor is your shortstop. So he's going to be here for a very long time. And I think that the Mets do have plans on working with him in the outfield. We haven't seen anything just yet so far in spring training where, he's been, being more seasoned. But I think going down to the minors is obviously something that he needs to just keep working and keep having good repetition. Now, on our last talk, we didn't get to mention about Edwin Diaz. Now, Edwin Diaz was having a good spring until the World Baseball Classic. Obviously, with the injury with Edwin Diaz, he suffered in the World Baseball Classic. He hurt his leg, and now it's a season-ending injury. He's going to be out for a very long time. He was celebrating, acting like a complete moron, and then he got hurt. It's a big blow for Mets. Who's going to step up? And I do feel there are two guys I would like to see step up here. David Robertson, and also I would like to see what's his name? Mott, maybe Mats, or maybe Adams, Mats or Adams, but those are like minor league guys. I don't know if a lot of you guys know who they are, but those are two guys I would like to see, work into that role well. Or maybe Ottavino. I think Ottavino is probably going to be in that spot also as well. So we got Mats. It's Mats and Mats. I'm sorry. Motts and Adams, those are two really good players. And then obviously, if we need to fill in some slot for the closing spot, either David Robertson or Adam Ottavino. Those are two guys that have well deserved those positions. And probably, I would say, Adam Ottavino close. And probably to be behind him would be David Robertson. So that's probably how you're going to see it throughout the season. There are a lot of guys that are going to be in that bullpen this year that are very well creditable, in every aspect. You're going to see in there maybe Tyler McGill and other players to follow. So I think this pitching rotation, the pitcher rotation through the bullpen has a lot of depth this year. Very well deserved. But going right back into guys that had a very good season would definitely be with Kodai Senga. Senga is a new addition to the New York Mets. He's a Japanese pitcher, came over to the Mets in the offseason. The Mets signed him to a really nice deal. And what have I seen out of him in spring training? He looked pretty decent the last 3 outings that he pitched for the Mets a couple of days ago. Now, they normally pitch once a week. So he's not going to get you. He needs to start getting used to pitching, multiple times. And I think that with Kodai Senga, on how different it is with Japan into, in the States here is that their mound is flatter than ours. Ours has a little bit more steep hill. He's going to start learning a little bit more on that hill, learning how to pitch through that. It's difficult because, when you're transitioning from a flatter mound to a slopey mound, I think you kind of you see it a little bit. You saw it early on. There was first two starts that he kind of, trying to get used to that mound. And believe me, he'll definitely get used to it. But in the last two starts, he did have 8 strikeouts. 8 strikeouts. And he did pitch between 190, 150. So, hasn't been super bad. I'm not in any way concerned, because I do know that he's a new guy coming in. He's a fresh face. So with that being said, he will learn the mound and he will definitely transition very well. So there's no issues. And even if we needed to put maybe Tyler McGill in there and maybe sit him down a start or two, it's okay. I really do feel that it's not going to be a big concern for the Mets. Plus, Mets got a lot of arms. They could maybe fill in maybe Tyler McGill maybe at times for that. Which goes to undertake about Justin Verlander. Justin Verlander is also another pitcher that the Mets brought in the offseason. He did play for the Astros. Gave the Astros a World Series. He was probably one of the best pitchers for the Astros for many, many years. The Mets, I feel, in my honest opinion, got a steal out of him. I really did like on what I saw, what he did in the playoffs. He's just a guy that just knows on how to pitch, knows how to get through the cycles. Going in now, transitioning from the Astros to the New York Mets, is he able to repeat the year he had prior to now? So that's going to be under the radar for Mets. In my honest opinion, through what I seen in spring training out of him, he looked pretty good. His ERA was at 3.45 ERA. He did have quite a few strikeouts. At Matt, he had about 14 strikeouts. He had about 8. He got about 8 hits, 4 RBIs. So nothing too crazy. I really do feel that Verlander is going to have a really good season with the New York Mets. So those are players that I felt that really stood out for me in spring training. Now, we could go with who's expected. Obviously, they want to expect to see Pete Alonso to just keep producing numbers like we always see out of him. 30 to 40 home runs. They give you well over 100 RBIs, which goes to talk about Francisco Lindor. Same thing. Have over 30, maybe at max over 130 RBIs. So those are guys that I feel that could very well be expected into the 2023 season. So that's my analysis for today's game. If you guys love to hear more of our podcasts, you guys can do so by checking us out on all of your social media platforms. You can go to MetsXMFanZone.com. We give you all of your New York Mets live streams. The Mets are playing tonight. So if you would like to go and check it out on our website, you can do that by going to MetsXMFanZone.com. It is free all the way up till Sunday. All of our spring training games are free. So you could always check that out at any time. If you guys would like to subscribe to one of our subscriptions, for just $19 a month, you get every live stream of your New York Mets. Plus, you could also get our weekly if you want to, get the weekly package, or you could also get the monthly package as well. We do give prizes throughout the season, which is fun. We do contests and stuff like that. We're going to be doing that more and more throughout the whole entire season. I think you guys are going to really enjoy that. But don't forget to check it out on our website at MetsXMFanZone.com. You can listen to us on all of our radio platforms as well to catch all of your New York Mets inside scoops, live streams, and much more. Again, please please go ahead and check out our website at MetsXMFanZone.com. Gives you live streams. But today's matchup is for the New York Mets. The New York Mets are playing the St. Louis Cardinals. Game starts at 6:10. We will be live broadcasting at 5:30, which I will give you guys my pregame show, give you guys the lineup, and then we could talk about who will stand out for today's game. We got Tyler McGill on the mound for the New York Mets. They are going to be wearing the blue and orange jerseys today. For the St. Louis Cardinals, they will be wearing their red and white uniforms. And on the mound for the Cardinals will be Pallante. And on the mound for the New York Mets in today's game is Tyler McGill. Again, the New York Mets are 9-14. St. Louis Cardinals are 14-6. And we will have pregame show at 5:30. So please check it out today. Mets are going to be streaming at 6:10, but we will be starting at 5 o'clock though for our show today. So that's all what we have for you guys today. If you guys love our shows, always tweet, like, and subscribe, and they give you all of your New York Mets news. Never forget, ever miss a moment of your everything Mets right here on the MetsXMFanZone live podcast. I want to thank you guys for watching. Don't miss a moment of your New York Mets. And today it's Mets Hats Day. So if you are in the city, you could get prizes. If you are hanging out in New York City, go to all of the hot spots that the Mets are doing today. We had Mookie Wilson. We interviewed him earlier this morning. We were talking about Mets history and his analysis of what the 2023 season looks like. So we will be uploading that really soon. But remember, stay safe, be well, let's go Mets, and we'll see you guys in our next live podcast. Have a good day, everybody.